Hello everyone, my name is Perumal Jagan and today I'm going to showcase a brand new phishing campaign. I've recently came across this specific concept. This specific technique might be used in upcoming phishing campaigns. So let's delve into it and experiment how a threat actor adversary can leverage this and try to lure social engineer their victims. So without further ado, let's get through. Now you are seeing the tweet. So this is the tweet that I came across from my friend Nicholas Crassus, and he has actually tweeted about a new phishing technique using UDL files, and you can see the title here apparently. So let me open this specific tweet. It is actually a thread to Reddit. You can see the thread here. It is all about the specific blog, and let's read through the comments first. So you need to craft a UDL, then convince the user to open it for it to send a hash and convince them the type of password, or send it to the creds in plain text. So it's a question. So what is the advantage here is that file gonna flag not flag as a malicious, whereas custom exe might be wouldn't. An LNK file would work in the same way. Well, the answer was the file is not blocked as an attachment in Outlook, whereas LNK and exe are. This is actually a vital stuff. There are plenty of payload types used by adversaries to send it over the email. We have witnessed HTML file, we have witnessed LNK file, we have witnessed ISO files. These are all the different kinds of file types that might carry an additional payload or some kind of malicious stuff. But the UDL is what we are going to look in this video, and this entire blog is about that. Uh, as they mentioned here, I checked it. The Outlook has not yet blocked this UDL file type. I'll tell what is UDL and also its use cases before we delve into the exploitation, how we can leverage that. Fine, let's read through this. So you need a user to double click the file, and when presented with a dialog never before seen by user, you also need to convince them to press the test connection button, kind of hard sell as a phishing method. And that's the true indeed. I tried it. It was actually a hard sell. It was not that easy. The threat actor, the adversary, actually has to convince a victim to do a couple of stuffs. Then only they can make their victim to trigger the payload. Well, I mean, not a payload, can trigger their victim to bite the bait. Fine. The answer was phishing is never easy, and that's true. That's true fact. Well, okay. Let's get into this blog and understand this specific scenario more. Oops, I UDL'd it again. That's the title. And phishing, we all love phishing. This post is about new phishing technique based on some legacy knowledge I had that can be used to get past email filters and such. I would expect that after publication, this method would be identified and addressed by most vendors. So the expectation is to inform Outlook and other email vendors and make them to block or apply necessary restrictions against this UDL file type. Simple. See, here is the discovery. As usual, the discovery was made during an engagement where I actually did something completely different. I was in a scenario where I needed to find database servers through a locked down Citrix session. Based on some old notes I had from 2017, I knew that there is a native way to enumerate database servers in Windows environments by simply creating an empty file with the UDL extension. Once the file is created, you can open it and you will be presented with the GUI like this. Well, what they are trying to say is we need to create a file with extension UDL. Okay, and UDL is actually the universal data link, I suppose, its definition. So let me scroll through this and check this UDL file. If you want to learn more about this UDL file format, and here is the official link, universal data link, and this is the definition for this file extension. All right, I'll go through this one, and you can see it is very simple. You need to create a file with UDL extension, and once you click and open the file, you will see a window like this. It will pop up like this, and here this is what this is where the real fun begins. and you see the select or server, enter a server name, and this is where we are going to give target details. It could be not a target detail, actually the attacker details. So myself, if I'm orchestrating the attack, I'm giving my details here. It could be a domain name, it could be an IP address, and we give the details here. When we choose either of this option and click the test connection, it will send the connection to that specific host that we mentioned in this option 1, and that's the interesting stuff. And you see a fun meme: you shall not pass unless you are UDL file. That's true now. For now, it is true. I tried it. UDL file can bypass this email spam filters and all, and it can be used by adversaries in a great way, or in a vast way, so that they can try to lure their victims. Details about universal data link configuration files. The main purpose of UDL files is to test the connection towards the database server, and that's the purpose of this UDL file. And you may ask the question, why we are using UDL, and they gave the reason here. The obvious reasons: to test the database connection. So this specific window is to test the database connection, and the UDL file supports previous providers and also depends somewhat on what is installed on the host. However, there are few standard providers that are most likely be present. For instance, Microsoft OLEDB provider for SQL Server, which is also the default chosen for UDL files. Fine. When you click and open the file, you will see this connection tab open by default. But when you click this provider, you will see a window like this. So this is where they define the OLEDB provider, a kind of a database client to access the database. And here you choose the client that you want. By default, this is the client chosen. All right, and simple. Then what else you need to do? As I said, you need to do a lot of work here. Not a lot of work. Couple of stuffs here in this connection tab. So what we need to do, look at this like this. You need to mention a server name, and you can choose either of this. If you choose use Windows NT integrated security and click test connection, it's supposed to give you the hash, the NTLM hash of the client who is giving the connection, who is giving the request, connection request, right, to this specific target. If the target server is controlled by the attacker, then the attacker can enable some listener like responder, and they can try to steal the NTLM hash from the victim who is trying to test this connection. It's very simple. And another important stuff of this UDL file is, and you can see it might look like a lot when you open it by default. By default UDL file, if you try to open it, might look like a lot of things. But when you try to open the file in a text editor, you will see just 2-3 lines. Indeed, you see the first line, it is always a constant, and the second line, it's actually a comment. Comment is necessary, it's mandatory to make this UDL file, so it is actually a constant value. And the things that are changing here in the third line, you see the SQL OLEDB.1, that is actually the provider detail, and the integrated security SSPI, which is nothing but I guess about the NTLM hash they are mentioning here. And persist security info false data source is nothing but the target details and the domain detail mentioned here. While this is fine, so this is how if you open a UDL file, you will see the content. And the next one, how it can be leveraged for phishing, and that's very simple. You can see it's the way it functions. It is asking us to enter the detail, the target detail, and it is also giving some credentials here. It could be an NTLM hash by default, or you can choose this second option, and you can mention the username and password to authenticate the specific server. In fact, let's assume a real scenario. If you send this file to your victim, you convince your victim to access a specific server or to enter some credential, then obviously that attacker can able to gain some details, to grab some details from the victim. So that's obvious thing, and that's where the phishing comes in. You see they are using the responder. Since the NTLM hash value is involved here, the attacker is obviously running the responder to capture the NTLM hash. Since it is actually an SQL connection, you need to make sure the SQL server is present in your responder. I think it is present, so that's what given here. I mean, the responder is listening on various services, and you can witness everything. SQL is one of those, so that's why we chose responder as our attacking tool. Well, here all you need to do is just start your listener and start your responder and listen for the connections. That's it. And once when you're listening, you will get the hash value from the victim, and that's how it works. And you can see from the victim side, they will get data. They will get a pop-up box like this, a message box like this. Test connection failed because of error in initializing the provider, and that's what the error message they get. And the second option here, you see they entered the credential and they mentioned some server name, and you see the detail. They got the clear text credential in the responder itself. That's very simple. Well, that's okay. By default, SQL uses actually 1433 port for this specific stuff. But in fact, in your real scenario, if a victim is trying to access an external URL over the 1433 port, which is actually the port used here, it will not work, because it may not work because the 1433 port might get blocked in your victim's environment. So what you can do, maybe you can try some common ports, ubiquitous, like port 80, 443, the web request ports, and you can use the ports like 53 just to bypass the defender, just to bypass their EDR solutions. So for that, what you can do, it's very simple. You need to do some configuration changes on your responder to make sure you are listening on port 80 for the SQL connections, and that can be done. I'm going to showcase how it has to be done. And before that, here you see a script, actually the script written by API or Cradle. You see the details. It's actually a simple script. Here it's a PowerShell script. They mentioned the domain name, the target name, and also the the attacker domain name, I suppose, and the port 443. The attacker is listening on port 443. This is actually the attacker details, and the path to the UDL files. And also here they are actually loading the list of users in this file, and they are loading it into the script. So what they can do, they can actually orchestrate a targeted attack by using these UDL files. So that is what given here. They actually targeting a specific set of users, and those user details can be given in this txt file. So what it will do, the script will actually fetch the contents from this file, and it is gonna create that UDL file that we have seen just before. And you see, this is actually the content of the UDL file. The first two lines are constant, so they have mentioned it simply, and this is where they're going to tweak few things. Like the provider, they are not going to tweak, but if you see this user ID is nothing but the item, so they are actually getting the list of users from this list. So that's what they are going to mention it as the user ID. And then at the end, data source is nothing but the server address. Server address is mentioned here, so which is very simple. So this is how they are actually crafting that malicious UDL file. So once they manage to create this malicious UDL file, they can simply attach it into an email, and they can pass it to their victims, and it's very simple. Okay, enough explaining this theoretical stuff. Let's get into that practical experiment, and let's get our hands dirty. Okay, fine. Now what I can do, I actually have two machines here. One is my Windows 11 machine, and it's gonna be my victim machine, and here is my parent machine to run the responder, so my attacking machine. Okay, both the machines are in the same network. Let me verify its IP address before trying this experiment. This machine's IP address is 192.168.0.108, and this is my attacker's machine. And I'll go to Windows machine, and let me try and get the IP address of it. IP config 113, 192.168.0.113. 113 is my victim, 108 is my attacker. All right, fine. Now what I can do, let me go to this Windows machine, and here I'm gonna create or craft a file, a UDL file maybe. Okay, so I'll craft it here. Since it is actually a Windows machine, I'll craft it here. Let me go to documents, and here I created a folder for it. Let me create this file. I'm gonna name it as experiment. It's fine, I guess. And the file type should be UDL, and yes, I need to change. So once I change this, and you see its icon got changed. It says experiment.udl. Fine. Now this is how its icon would look like. Fine. Now let me try and open this. When I open this, you see that dialog. It says connection, properties, advanced, and all. And you see it is asking us to enter the server name, and here we can give that server name. And when I click the test connection and give some, when I give this credential and click the test connection, it's gonna send a connection request to my victim machine, the attacker machine. Let's see. I'll start the netcat listener for simply show this to you. NC LVNP 1433, and I'm listening on port 1433 on all interfaces now. And here I'm gonna try and access that attacker machine. Attacker machine's IP is 108. All right, now let me give that. I simply entering the IP address here, 108, and the port is 1433 by default, so you need not to enter anything. Here I'm not mentioning the username or password, and I simply mention this one, Windows NT integrated security. I'm not listening to grab any hash. I'm simply listening on netcat. Let's see what happens. I click test connection here. I'm gonna go. You see, I got connection from 113, my victim machine, and you see it banner says UMS SQL server. Well, we just confirmed it is actually sending the connection to the external device. That's fine. That's awesome. Now let's do one thing. I'll go to this provider. Here I don't see any provider. Okay, fine. I see multiple providers here, but I don't see the provider that I want to see. Let's see. I'm going to read through this UDL, and here there is an option to download this OLEDB driver. So what it does, so when we download this, it is gonna add the provider for us in this list. Let's do that. Here I'm going and downloading this OLEDB driver 19 for SQL server. My device is 64-bit, so I'm just trying that. And let me install this. It's actually an MSI file, a Microsoft package file. So I'm installing this. Yeah, finish. All right, now I have installed it. Now let me come and open this again to check the provider, and I see OLEDB driver 19 for SQL server, the newly installed stuff. Now I am choosing this provider, and here I can choose the type of authentication that I want. I can either choose Windows authentication, SQL server authentication, or any other authentication based on Active Directory, as per your wish. Okay, now let me try the same. 192.168.0.108. okay, like this. And let's see. Maybe I'll enable the responder now. Sudo responder. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll enable 1433 again. And now let me check this. Not a SQL server, blank password. Okay, I'm not giving any password right now. I'm giving test connection. It says invalid authorization specification. Okay, I need to use some authorization stuff. Let's see, username maybe Perumal Jagan, my name, and blank password. And I'm testing the connection. Now it's testing the connection, and I got the connection from my victim machine, and that's awesome. All right, I'll close this connection, and I'm getting some error here. Communication link failure. Fine. That's okay. That's awesome. Now I choose this Windows authentication and server SPN, and here you can give your SPN details and test the connection. I mean, the victim can give their SPN detail. You can compromise your victim to give their SPN details, and you may ask them to test the connection. Eventually you will get the hash value from them, I suppose. But I haven't tested this, but that's the case probably. Let's see. Okay, what if I give the test connection? Is it gonna request something? Okay, let me enable this connection now, the listener now. And now I think since we didn't enable the listener, it is trying to trying to reach that specific target, I suppose. Eventually errored. Fine. Okay, I'll test this. I chose Windows authentication, server SPN, I didn't give anything. I give test connection here, and look at this. I got the connection and the session got closed immediately. That's awesome. Now let me try this. So far I just enabled the netcat listener. What if I try and run the responder instead? So let me try that. Okay, sudo responder -i to mention the interface, ENS33, I suppose. Let me check that. Like this, fconfig. I didn't enable the tmux, so that's why I'm struggling a lot. ENS33 is the interface name, and here it is. Well, -i to listen it on the specific IP address. The IP address is 192.168.0.108, and that's gonna be my IP address. And I'm listening like this, and I put the -a flag to ensure I'm just listening. I'm just listening. My responder will be in analysis mode. It won't poison any request that's incoming. So I'm mentioning -a flag just to enable the listener. Since I need a sudo privilege and I'm giving it, and you see the listener is enabled. The responder NIC card and also the responder IP address. Now it is listening for the stuff. Responder is in analyze mode. No NBTNS, which means NetBIOS name service, LLMN or link local multicast networking name resolution, and MDNS request will be poisoned. Okay, so none of these things will be poisoned. Fine. Now I go here to check where it is. Sorry. I go to this Windows machine, and now let me try and test this. I choose Windows authentication here. Please, select or enter the server name. I entered it, and Windows authentication. Okay, I'll test the connection now. Am I getting any request? Looks like I'm not getting any request. Might be the Windows Defender might be blocking this 1433 from sending any request to another machine. That could be the stuff. Client unable to establish connection. Yeah, encryption not supported on SQL Server. Fine. I think the client is doing some weird shenanigans to block or the request that is being initiated by client. All right. I'll do one thing. I'll go and change the provider. I keep it to the simple one, the specific the default provider. I'll do one thing now. 192.168.0.108. Once again, I'm entering it, and I'm giving the username and password as Perumal Jagan, and I'm testing the connection. Before testing, let's make sure, yeah, it's enabled. I'll go and test the connection. Now, can I see anything? And look at this. I got the clear text client detail, the host name, the username and password, and I retrieved it here in my responder. So let me try and use the NTLM hash and try to test this. Will I get? No, I'm not getting the NTLM hash from my client machine. But when I enter the credential, the clear text credentials are visible in this responder. Now I don't see anything. Okay, that's fine. When I tested, I couldn't grab the NTLM hash from this specific method. I was only able to grab the username and password when I chose this option. When I chose this Windows NT integrated security, I was not able to do that. I was not able to gain it. Fine, this is fine. Now, so far we have discussed the default port 1433. But what if, as I said, what if the client environment is blocking, the victim environment is blocking the 1433 port, outbound connections? What we can do in that case? As I said before, we need to use the most common ports that actually not get blocked in our victim environment. The mostly used ports like 80, 443, the web service ports, and the port like 53 DNS resolution. So these ports most probably will not get blocked by the victim environment. So we can use these ports. For that, what we can do, we need to do a small modification in our responder configuration. So let's try and do that before initiating it. All right, I'll check whether the responder process got closed, and it got closed. Fine, awesome. I'll do one thing. Let me open this responder configuration file, responder.conf, and here is the configuration file. I need to edit this file, so let me do that. Sudo nano, I'm using nano editor to edit this, and here I can go and turn off this HTTP server or the HTTP listener, and now I'm exiting this by saving this file. Now I have disabled the HTTP service in responder. Now what I can do, I need to do one more change here. For that, you need to go to usr share responder, like this, responder.py. There is a Python script. So this is the real responder Python script. So I need to go here, and before that, let me enable the line number in nano. Yeah, now you can see the line number left side. I scroll down all the way to that SQL configuration. I think it is above 300, the line number. Let me check this. Can I see that SQL? And look at this. And here is the port 1433. The MS SQL server, Microsoft SQL server, it's actually working on port 1433. Now I am changing it to port 80. All right. I exit this by saving it. All right. Now we have modified this stuff. Now when we enable this listener, the MS SQL service will run, but it will run on port 80. All right. Let me check that. I'm gonna go and start the responder again, and here it is. And now you see, if I scroll up and see, the HTTP is turned off and the SQL is still listening, but it is listening on port 80 now. All right, now this is fine. It is waiting for the connection from our victim. Now let's go to that Windows 11 machine, and here I'm just selecting this Windows NT integrated security first, and here I need to change the port. If I give the request, it will try to request over 1433, but we have already changed our responder to listen on port 80 for MS SQL. For that, I simply need to add comma and mention the port detail. So this is how you need to mention the custom port detail, comma and port detail. Okay, I mentioned the port 80 and I'm testing the connection now. Let's see what I'm getting. I don't get anything. As I said, when I tried to grab the NTLM hash, I was not able to grab. So like they have shown in the blog, where it is. Yeah. This blog, they managed to capture the NTLM hash, but when I tried this, I was not able to grab that. Let me show that to you. They have grabbed the NTLM hash here, but I was not able to grab it. I'm not sure why. If anyone knows why I was not able to grab the NTLM hash, you can feel free to let me know, so that I will try and learn it. Fine. Now it's perfect. Now I mentioned this one, use a specific username and password, and I mentioned the same Perumal Jagan and password at 123, a simple one. Fine. I go to this parrot. I'm still not having any credential here, but when I click test connection and go to this parrot, you see I got the username and password from my victim. Well, this is the stuff I wanted to showcase. Now that's fine. We got this experiment.udl, and when we try to open it with some text editor, let's see what we have. Yeah, let me try and open it with the text editor. Open with a text editor. I see an empty file. I'm not sure why, because here in this specific stuff, I think I didn't save anything. Maybe I need to enter that 192.168.0.108. like this, comma port 80, and here the username must be my name and password 123. Okay, like this. If I click OK, it will save the file, I suppose. Let's see. Yeah, now I try to open it with the text editor and see do we have anything, and see this. So once we filled the content, and you see the user ID we entered and also the data source. Now this is the line that the specific script writer referred, and he actually tried to build this specific 3 lines to create unique files for each user. So the script was very simple, quite simple. I'm not going to try. You can just read through this, you will understand. Not a big deal. Here they chose that specific provider, and persistent security info false, and user ID they provided here, and the data source, which is actually nothing but our adversary or attacker. Fine. In our case, it is actually the parrot machine. All right. So this is the file content. Now what I can do? Let me do one thing. I'll open this, and I entered the details, and I choose this one. Use Windows NT integrated security and click OK. And I try opening it with a text editor. Let's see what we have here. I have some content, and you see persistent security info false. Okay, but integrated security is SSPI, which is nothing but, I think they are referring the NTLM v2 SSP hash. Let's see. Means, yeah. Integrated security property, instruct SQL client to connect to SQL server using Windows authentication through security support provider interface. Well, you see the hint here, Windows authentication through SSPI, security support provider interface. Well, that's the stuff. Here we chose the proper one. All right, now let me go and choose another one. I go here like this, and I copy this, and I choose this OLE DB driver 19 for SQL server, and here I'm entering the stuff, and I'm choosing Windows authentication. I'm not mentioning any SPN, and I'm saving this. Now if I try and open it in the text editor, let's see what I'm getting. And I'm getting some additional details. The server SPN is empty, access token, so authentication, access token, host name in certificate, server certificate, some additional security parameters. I think this will not work, though I try this. Let me try this anyway. I will go and check my listener is listening. Yeah, it's listening, and I'm gonna go and trigger this payload, and let's see what happens. I have opened it. I'm testing the connection now, and I'm not getting anything because I think it is pushing, it is enforcing some additional stuff. We found the parameters, like it was asking the SPN details, it was asking some certificate stuff that I don't have. All right, so this is the stuff. Unable to establish the connection, encryption is not supported on SQL server, and that's fine. But by default, when we are trying to use this type of files in a phishing attempt, in a phishing assessment, maybe you may not be downloading, you may not able to make your victim to download this driver 19 file. By default, they must have chose this one, right? So in this case, what we can do, so that's what you need to think every time when you choose Windows NT. In my case, I was not able to retrieve any NT hash, but NTLM hash. But when I choose this specific username and password, I was able to retrieve it. Why I was not able to grab the NTLM hash might be some security measures that already deployed on the Windows systems. Might be the reason. But username and password, I was able to get that. Perumal Jagan password 123, like this. I'm just entering some random stuff. Let's see. If I click test connection, it says different password this time with my name. Fine. This is the stuff. Now we have tested this. We have tried playing around this UDL file. Definitely, it would be one of the interesting payloads to be used in the phishing campaigns. But the attacker need to take a few more efforts to make the user to open this document and enter the details and click the test connection. So there are a lot of stuffs involved in this, but it is still worth to learn. Fine. Now what I can do, I'll do one thing. Let's make sure this UDL file is allowed in our Outlook and Gmail boxes. Let's try that. But before that, I'm gonna go and create another file just to represent some LNK file. What I can do, my test link like this, and I make the type as LNK. Let me change this to LNK, and it is my shortcut. I go to properties, okay, security, or not a security, details. I need to see the link actually. Advanced, okay, shortcut, comment, normal window, open file location. Okay, here is the comment, but okay, fine. Target, I think this is where we need to do that in a normal window. Okay, fine. Now let me try. I created one LNK file and one UDL file. So let me upload both these files into my Outlook and see which is allowed. Okay. I'll go and create a new file, a new email. My experiment. I name it like this. Okay. And 2 should be my email address. I give my own email address here, and here I'm trying to attach 2 files. I browse my computer and experiment UDL and my test link, my shortcut file. So I attach both the files, and you see the following files were not attached because they are empty. Okay, this one is empty. I need to fill something. What I can fill? Maybe I go here and open a file location. Not a file location. Open it with. Okay, let me try and open it with some other stuff. I go here, properties, shortcut key none. I can change this icon. So let me give icon like this. File location, advanced. Okay. Can I give something? Hello. Now I gave some details. Can I attach this now? Let's see. Browse this computer, my test link, and now it attached. Let me send it over the email. Can I able to pass this 2 files to over the email? Let's see that. I have sent it to my personal email now. Let's see. And look at this. It rejected directly. I got the message. This message was blocked because its contents presents a potential security issue. So actually it happened because of the LNK file that we attached to the email. But when we attach just the UDL file, it will just pass it to my email. There won't be any issue. So let me show that to you in a moment. Yeah, here I got to know that LNK blocked this specific email. Now let me try the same with just UDL file. My UDL experiment like this. Okay. I attach this UDL file from my computer, experiment.udl, and here it is. I send it to my Gmail, and let's see what happens. If I go to send items, so this is actually, and you see my UDL experiment, the mail is sent successfully. And let me grab my email here, and you see my email box. Here it is. I'm able to open this, download this. In fact, I keep it in downloads. And here, if I go to this path and open it with the text editor, I could see the specific file. All right. That's awesome. Anything else I left? Anything else I need to explain here? I think I covered everything. Whatever I thought to cover, I covered everything. Yeah, the script I didn't run because it was actually a simple one. Just created various UDL files for specific users present in this file. So the script is very simple, and you can download this one and you can play around. What else I need to explain? I think that's it. We explained. I mean, I explained what I thought to explain. We actually managed to capture the credential from the victim, which mean in this scenario from my Windows machine. When I enable the listener simply in responder from the attacker machine, we were able to grab it. Now we just used IP address, our internal IP address in this experiment, but it can ultimately be done with the domain names. That's actually the special thing about this technique. Instead of this stuff, you can give one public URL, maybe like this, google.com. It's gonna send some SQL request to this. You may able to send requests to the public domains, and this is where this specific technique gets even more danger, because the attacker simply craft this kind of UDL files with their domain name given here, and they can ask you to test the connection. So which is actually a very difficult one, a tedious one to achieve, but a user with zero knowledge about the security stuff uh, might might become a victim of this specific attack stuff. Yeah, I think this is what I wanted to explain. I think I explained it pretty well. I explained it clearly. I'm not sure how effective this technique will be, but surely it is one of the techniques that we need to be aware of as a red teamer, as a researcher. We need to be aware of this specific file type, and the Outlook and other email providers might enforce some stringent protection against this kind of file types, as it could be used to as a bait to lure their victims. Fine, I think this is what I wanted to explain. Yeah, I think I'm ending this video here. Hope you like this video, you learned something new from this. If you really did, do consider doing the YouTube algorithms, like, comment, subscribe, and you can also share this video among your friends so that they can see this video and get benefited with this. That's it. I'll see you next time with another exciting one. Until then, I'm signing off. Cheers, and I love you all. Thanks so much. Bye.